2023 has had its fair share of horror movies, some great, some good, some just okay, and some absolutely terrible horror movies came out this year. I felt like it's a great time to rank all 27 that I have seen this year. Before I get into that tier list, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 500 subscribers, but let's get right to the tier list. All right, before we get right into the tier list, I will say I'm going to try to make this video pretty fast because a lot of these horror movies I don't really care to talk about too much because a lot of them are just a little generic and just last for a little too long, but some of them I will rage about a little bit. I'm going to try to make this video a little fun, try to, not be too hard on some movies, but I'll be a little harder on other movies because horror movies are pretty interesting genre movies that I'm trying to get more into these days. I'm usually pretty scared of them, but they're a hard genre to get right. Like if you want to get a good horror movie, you got to really work on that, work on the writing, work on the scares. Like jump scares don't really do it for me. You got to have a really good build up and suspense in your horror movie to make it really good nowadays, because a lot of them just fell flat, and you're going to see in this tier list, a lot of them fell flat for me this year. But first up is Evil Dead Rise, one that worked for me a lot. I haven't even seen all the Evil Dead movies. I own them. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But I was really hyped to go see this because the trailers were epic. And, this one was supposed to go to Max originally, only on streaming, but they put it in theaters because of the great test audience score. But man, this was an experience. Saw this with like 4 other people, and I didn't tell them that this was a horror movie, and they didn't somehow know it was a horror movie. They were shocked. I was shocked at some scenes. Just the mom in this movie was absolutely terrifying what she was doing. The gore was off the charts. I thought the practical effects were great here. The cinematography and lighting of this apartment was also great. And the first scene just got me when her scalp just got ripped off. It's just such a funny kind of horror movie at times too. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which I can, like a lot. I'm hoping that they're still working on a sequel for this because Evil Dead Rise is a great movie. Next up is It Lives Inside. This is from Neon. Neon has had a kind of iffy year for me. They've had some great movies, had some bad movies. I feel like It Lives Inside kind of disappointed me a lot because it's a very slow horror movie. Has a pretty good third act, I would say, but it takes so long to get there. You don't really see the evil demon creature for a little bit in this movie. I do like some of the kills in here, but overall I felt like It Lives Inside was a very disappointing horror movie that I felt like a little bit of a waste of time in the theater. I don't like to say that too much, but it just had a lot of empty moments in there. So It Lives Inside is going in the bad tier, but it'll probably end up at the top of the bad tier by the end of this. I will be a Megan supporter probably for the whole year. I don't really care if you liked Megan, hated Megan. I liked Megan a lot. I thought it's a fun movie. This one also didn't take itself too seriously. And, I wouldn't say it's a full-blown horror movie. It does have some scary moments. And Megan as a doll just reminded me so much of Chucky. And I kind of adore the original Child's Play. And I feel like having, Megan in here do some pretty just interesting and pretty wacky things was awesome. I love the little girl actress. I thought that she did a pretty good job. And it just kind of made me want a Chucky versus Megan movie. I've heard that they might do it. I feel like that would make a lot of money for them. Megan made so much of the box office. It was like a surprise hit for January, February. I forgot when it came out. It came out at the beginning of the year so long ago. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with Megan, and I'm really excited for the sequel that they did announce. Pretty sure they did announce Megan's sequel, so I'm putting Megan in the good tier. Next up is The Blackening. This is also like kind of a silly horror movie. It kind of is, a little bit of Scream in there and a little bit of a supernatural feel in there. If you haven't seen this, I do recommend going into it blind. This is a horror movie that actually has a pretty good script. I will say the script is very strong here. It's kind of a little long for me, but I will say it's really funny. It's a funny horror movie. It has a lot of interesting kills, I would say, a lot of funny kills. So I did like a decent bit, putting The Blackening in the good tier. Next up is Renfield. This is one that I want to roast a lot. I kind of seem like I'm in the minority on this one because a lot of people like Renfield. A lot of people had fun with it. I really did not like Renfield. I thought it was such a stupid film. I didn't want to see it based off the trailers, but I really have to see it because I have to review these movies. But man, Nicolas Cage. I mean, Nicolas Cage was okay, but I don't know. The effects in here were absolutely atrocious. I hate CGI blood. I hate fake blood in movies. Like, if you're gonna do blood, make it practical, because CGI blood is so noticeable, so bad. I hate it so much. The story here was terrible. The script here was terrible. Some of the acting by some of the cast was absolutely ridiculous. Awkwafina in here was, I hate Awkwafina. Like, seeing her in these silly movies is ridiculous. She does well in serious movies. Like silly movies like this is just disgusting. I hate it. but Renfield just didn't work for me. I cannot bring myself to ever watch it again, so it's going in the bad tier. Next up is Saw X. This one was actually a really fun movie for me because before this movie, I didn't see any Saw films, but like a week before this movie, I watched all 9 Saw movies in one day. It was a major experience. Like, pardon me, I don't know if I would say it's a good experience or a bad experience, since, you know, the movies weren't all great, and it was kind of like a weird experience just going from each one to the next one, like right after. I just kind of got tired of it after a little bit, but some of the Saw movies are great, especially the first one. It's a classic horror movie, and I was a little bit worried because once you go to a 10th film, which many franchises don't ever get a chance to go 10 films in, it gets really stale. It gets really bad. I mean, Saw the Final Chapter was absolutely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I hated that movie, but Saw X really surprised me. I mean, it's not like a great, amazing movie, but it really kind of stepped it back up for the Saw franchise. Kind of felt more modern, which I liked. I will say the first half of it was pretty slow, and it really didn't have too much, you know, gore horror concepts in there, which is why I love the Saw franchise, because of all the puzzles. That's what made Saw 1 so special. But the end of Saw X in the second half of it was actually what got me to really like it a lot. You know, we got back to the roots of like the puzzles and all that, the hardcore gore, and just, you know, him punishing the, you know, mean characters and all that, and just them having a lot of fun. The practical effects are great in here. The set design was great. I just loved the traps were all pretty interesting, and the second half really saved it, because it was, if the second half was anything like the first half, I thought it would have been pretty bad. I'm interested to see where they're going to go from here, because they did announce Saw 11 to come out in 2024. Very excited for that. Hopefully it lives up to this. Hopefully we can just go, you know, keep getting better and better. It's going to be such an interesting turn from this franchise to go from good in the beginning to bad, and then back up at Saw X and just keep going up again. I would love if they did that, but Saw X is going in the good tier. Next up is Talk to Me. Talk to Me, I will say it's the best movie on this list, and it's the movie that I was the most shocked at when going into, because it's from A24, but it was made from the Rocka Rocka brothers on YouTube, so A24 just bought it from them at a film festival, and I was very excited to go see this. The trailers actually didn't do too much for me. I wasn't too impressed by the trailers, but man, this movie had so many shocking moments in the theater. I just remember being in the theater, experiencing this with an audience. The montage scene with the music and them just, you know, playing with the hand is one of the best scenes of the year. I was just blown away by that scene and how the music works. That track has just been on loop for me. I just love that track so much. And just a shocking moment with the little brother just smashing his head on the table. I was just, you know, I was just sitting back. I was like, okay, we've gone a little too far here. Who is making this movie? Because this movie, you know, it's made by 2 YouTubers. Who would have expected them to make an amazing movie like this that looks as good as it does? And the actors in here are great. I didn't even know any of them, but they're all great. And just, it's a shocking movie with some amazing themes in it. I love the hand design. It's great. And as I said, it's really traumatizing. I feel like it'd be a little traumatizing for others. I'd say it's kind of like Hereditary at times, which is why I probably liked it a lot, because Hereditary is an amazing film in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't feel that way. And they also did announce a sequel to this is coming out. I don't know when. They're probably still working on the script, but I'm very excited to see where they go with this, because the ending of Talk to Me just left me kind of shocked. I was kind of shocked when I left this movie. I've kind of watched it a lot more times since it's come out. I've owned it on physical now. Just an amazing movie. It's A24's most profitable movie of the year, which is funny because they didn't actually produce it. I just think that's hilarious. But Talk to Me, going in the amazing tier. Next up is Cobweb. This is a horror movie that kind of went under the radar because it didn't have a big theater release, I don't think, and a lot of people aren't really watching it on streaming. It has Anthony Starr from The Boys in it, and he does great in here. He deserves to do more movies because he's great in The Boys. We all love Homelander in The Boys, and I think that Anthony Starr should do more movies because he's great. But this movie is actually kind of shocking at times. The monster in here scared the hell out of me because you don't really see a full look of the monster. She's just like crawling around. It's insane. Some scenes are great, some practical effects. It is a bit slow. The script is a bit weak. You know, you have those little instances where you expect it to be a little bit better, but still, I feel like some of the scares really went across well because of the suspense that's built up in this movie. So Cobweb going in the OK tier. Next up, we got Beau is Afraid. This is it's a handful of a movie to talk about just because how long it is. Yeah, I forget how long this one was. It's 3 hours, I think. Went to go see it in an IMAX early screening, and it is just, it's a hard movie to talk about because of how big the experience is. Ari Aster is known for that with Hereditary, big experience there. Midsommar. Midsommar is not really one that I like too much. It's a very, kind of movie that goes off the rails once you get to that second act of that. And I feel like Beau is Afraid also goes off the rails because Beau is Afraid actually was really good in that first and second act. Once you get to the third act, though, I feel like it doesn't know where to go. It just goes in such a weird direction. There's so many themes that are being juggled in here. It's kind of like a more anxiety-inducing film. So if you have like a lot of anxiety, probably don't watch this movie. Joaquin Phoenix is great here. There's some standout scenes in here. Great production design. But I feel like it just goes off the rails, goes on for a little too long. But Beau is Afraid, I feel like it has enough good moments, so I'm going to put it in the good tier. The Exorcist Believer is the next one. I really hated this movie. I will say that this movie is about an hour and 45 minutes, I think, and it felt 4 hours long. I cannot believe this movie was made. David Gordon Green made this movie, but he also made the Halloween reboot trilogy. And Halloween 2018 was great. Halloween Kills was fun. Halloween Ends was total shit. This one is just, it's shit times 5. I don't know what he was thinking making this. He brings back legacy characters in this just to like almost kill them off. It's so stupid. The scares don't work. The story's stupid. The script is stupid. I have nothing to say about this movie. The first act terrible. Second act's terrible. Third act, it's okay, but the movie overall is just terrible. The Nun 2, the Nun 1 was actually, pretty bad, I will say. The Nun 1 is also a pretty slow movie. The Nun 2 was an upgrade from the first one, but not in too major of a way. I think like the scares do better. The story is a lot better here. And I loved where they took, the characters in here, especially the nun character. I thought she had some pretty good kills in here. The third act in this one I actually liked a lot. It's a little slow, but not as slow as Nun 1. So Nun 2, going in the okay tier. Next up is Five Nights at Freddy's. A lot of people hate this movie. A lot of people do. I'm one that, didn't play the games too much. I'm not really into the games, but I did have a decent time with this movie. It's fun at times. I'm happy to see Josh Hutcherson, back in the main stage. He had a lot of publicity for this movie and he wasn't really able to promote it because the strike was going on, the actor's strike. But man, I like the production design here. I like the, animatronics in here. The scares, they're not really there. The script is kind of dumb. I hope that, they do a better job for the sequel because they made it for the fans of the game, but I feel like they should do a better job in the script. So Five Nights at Freddy's going in the okay tier. When Evil Lurks is a foreign horror movie that I was a little bit late to. A lot of people, who I follow on Twitter said this one is actually really great and has a lot of actually freaky moments in it. But when I finally watched it, I actually felt the same way. I was kind of blown away by this. Just, not only on a technical level, but on a story and script level, because I don't really get a chance to watch too many foreign horror movies, because they don't really come to the market, but I did watch this one in Shudder, and it's really good. If you haven't seen this one, you like foreign films, you like horror movies, I do recommend this one. It has a lot of shocking moments. It's a little bit more of a build-up kind of film to build up to that, first big shocking moment in the film. And there's just one scene in the house with a dog and a little girl that actually terrified me to death. Just made me even more scared of dogs at this moment and what they can do to humans if they really want to do it to you. And the story, I feel like the little bit of the third act kind of, I would say it's a great movie, but the third act kind of just unravels a little bit too weird for me at times. But I will say the build up in the beginning and just some of the, story and scenes in here were pretty shocking, especially if you see on this poster, this girl has an axe in her hand headed right for her head. That's another shocking scene in here. It's a very interesting and entertaining movie, very underrated. Watch it if you haven't, but When Evil Lurks is going in the good tier. Next up is The Boogeyman. This is one that I really didn't have any anticipation for. It came out around the same time as Across the Spider-Verse. I think it's a Stephen King adaptation. I haven't read that novel or short story which it's based off of. Some of the effects are good in here. It's really just a story about a creature that you really can't see because it just moves around in the dark. And, I feel like the performances were great. Some of the scares were actually pretty good, got me a little bit, but as a movie, it's a little half-baked, but I'll still put it in the okay tier. Next up, it's here, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the best movie of the year. No, it's not the best movie of the year. What are you talking about? It's the worst movie of the year, and it's the worst horror movie I've probably ever seen in my life. Why would you make... I know Winnie the Pooh is a public domain now, so a lot of people are just making stupid movies about it. But why would we make a Winnie the Pooh horror movie? And why it starts out so dumb when you just have Winnie the Pooh and and he's just killing just these random people for what reason? Why is Winnie the Pooh evil? They try to explain it, but you can't explain that. Winnie the Pooh is never evil. And why is he so damn big? Why is he so fat? Winnie the Pooh is not that fat. I mean, he does have a little bit of weight on him, but he's not that fat. The effects are terrible. It's like a student film made for like 50,000, so I can't blame him. But it's just the worst movie of the year. Going in the terrible tier. Next up is Haunted Mansion. Haunted Mansion. This new one proves that there's no good Haunted Mansion movie. There never will be a good Haunted Mansion movie. Lakeith Stanfield does his best to try to carry the movie, but it's just filled with stupid moments. Jared Leto's in this. Who cares? Why is Jared Leto in this movie? And it's very long. The pace is terrible in here. It felt so long. The story just kept going on forever. Danny DeVito was pretty good. You know, the performances in here are pretty good, as I said, but it's just the story, not scary, and it's just so silly. I get it's for kids, but it's silly. But still, performances carry it to be in the okay tier. Haunting in Venice is the next one up. This is the third movie in the trilogy of the Hercule Poirot franchise. You know, a movie that's built on suspense and like kind of murder mystery at times, kind of horror. This one is very slow, and the cinematography kind of almost made me fall asleep. Wouldn't say that's because it's bad, it's just because the cinematography was just so great, so calming in a way. I like the script here. I feel like this is the best Hercule Poirot movie, but I wouldn't say that's just a major compliment to it because they're all a little average. So I would say put it in the okay tier. Next up is Pet Sematary Bloodlines. Just another movie that proves, you know, Hollywood cannot make Pet Sematary work. They're trying to for so many films. They can't make it work. This one isn't even based on the real Pet Sematary novel. It's kind of like a spin-off story of it. I didn't even understand what was going on in this movie. I gave up on it about 30 minutes in. You know, it's built on stupid scares, a dumb plot, dumb characters, and just, you know, some terrible writing. So Bloodlines going in the terrible tier. Next up is Scream 6. We finally have a great movie to talk about. Thank God. I got a little worried. I was talking about horror movies for way too long. Scream 6, I don't even want to talk about Scream 6 because Scream 7 drama has just been all over the place. I don't think we're getting Scream 7, which is so sad because I love this franchise a lot. But Scream 6 is another film that just keeps upgrading the franchise. It's better than Scream 5. And it, you know, moving the film to New York was such a, you know, breath of fresh air. I loved being in the setting of New York. The train sequence is an all-time favorite for me. You know, them crossing the ladder through apartments was a big, you know, scene for me. Not that the Ghostface kills were great here. The opening is, you know, a famous scene, I would say, now for the franchise that, you know, it goes off a different point for the movie, considering all the other Scream movies have like the same opening. This one is actually very different. It kind of takes the same road as Scream 4, a different opening, which I like a lot. The kills were great. The reveal isn't as great as Scream 5, I'll say, because there's a lot of different things that happen with the reveal. But I will say the movie as a whole, it's paced very well. The kills are great. The set design and just them being in New York just made me so happy. So Scream 6 going in the great tier. Next up is Children of the Corn. Another remake of Children of the Corn. Another stupid movie that I just hated a lot. One of the worst movies of the year. Going in the terrible tier. I don't even remember it too much. Next up is Sick. This one came out way at the beginning of the year. I think it came out first week of January. This is like a COVID themed, you know, horror movie where these two girls go on a vacation and this person just they go on vacation during the COVID times and just get away, and this killer just comes after them, and it's all based around COVID. The killer's motives are even based around COVID. It's kind of a funny, fun horror movie, not to be taken too seriously. The kills are pretty great. The suspense is actually there, so I like that. If you have suspense in your movie, I like it a decent bit. So Sick, I'd say it's going in the okay tier. Next up is The Last Voyage of Demeter. Say this is more of a horror movie, kind of like a, you know, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say, you know, it's a slow movie, but it does take its time to build up to these horror moments, which I feel like would have been better if you had some more likable characters in here, but the characters were all just really one level characters, so it didn't really work for me too much. So Last Voyage of Demeter going in the bad tier. Insidious the Red Door, sadly another miss for the Insidious franchise. Patrick Wilson, you know, stepping into the director's trailer was you know, it was actually pretty good. I felt like his direction here is pretty good. It's just the writing and the scares were just terrible. I feel like, you know, it's just so weird. You go from this Insidious the Red Door, but then you go back to the first Insidious from James Wan, and it's so different. The scares are so good. It's just some simplistic scares in the first one that get you. And they try to go all out with these dumb jump scares in Insidious the Red Door. They don't work. And the Red Door kind of story motive around this movie is just, is just not there. So going in the bad tier. Next up is the Pope's Exorcist. This one I had a lot of fun with, and I feel like that's the point. You're not supposed to take this one seriously. It's just, it's all over the place, but in kind of the best ways. And I really just had fun. I liked it a lot. So I mean, it's going to the okay tier because it's stupid, and I'm tired of exorcism kind of movies. So you'll sit there. All Fun and Games is a movie that I kind of forgot about a lot. Kind of has a lot of weird moments. Has a lot of actors that really aren't in a lot of things, but I'm going in the terrible tier for them. Totally Killer is actually a very fun movie on Amazon Prime now. If you haven't seen it, it takes a spin on Back to the Future and kind of all that. How this girl has to go back in time and save her mom. I liked it a lot. Kiernan Shipka is in this. She does great. She thinks she's a really underrated actress, so I like this one a lot. The killer, the person that is the killer in this movie and the mask that they wear is kind of dumb. I didn't like that kind of look for the character. The kills aren't great, but I think the script is actually pretty good for this one, so I'm going in the good tier for that. Infinity Pool is one of the weirdest movie experiences that I've ever had. I went with my friends to this one, and it's weird. If you haven't seen this and you're, over 17, I will say go watch it just for the experience because it's an odd movie. Mia Goth plays a really sadistic character, I'd say. Alexander Skarsgård does great in here, but it's so odd. It goes off the rails so many times. It gets weird at the start, and you wouldn't expect it to get any weirder. You're like, yeah, this can get any weirder. Nah, it gets weirder. And I don't know, for some reason, I have a soft spot for it just a little bit. I don't think it's bad. I'll put it in the okay tier, but it's so weird for the weirdest. I gotta just recommend you guys to watch it for yourselves because it's like so divisive too, but it goes off the rails. So let's do our final ranking right now. In the terrible tier, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, good job. You're in the last spot. Good for you. Children in the Corn going also in second to last. And at the top, I'll put at the top I'll go, oh man, this is hard. They're all so bad. I love talking about bad movies. I have fun with it, but at the same time, I hate watching them. All Fun and Games, I'll put at the top. Then I'll probably keep it like that. The bad tier at the bottom, we're probably going to go Renfield because I hated it. Then we're going to go like that. Yeah, I think Aliens Inside is a little better because the production design. The okay tier, there's so many movies here, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. At the top here, I will put... at the top, we're going to put Cobweb still at the top. And then we're going to go Infinity Pool because the style of that movie is crazy. Then we're going to go Sick. And then we're probably going to go Five Nights at Freddy. And actually, we're going to go Boogeyman, then Five Nights at Freddy's if I can move the damn picture. And then at the bottom, we'll probably go Haunted Mansion, then A Haunting in Venice, and then none in front of that. I feel like that works like the Pope's Exorcist a little bit. And then the good tier where we finally get into some good movies. Yeah, 2023 for horror has just been interesting. At the top of the good tier, we're gonna go When Evil Lurks. It's a really cool movie if you haven't seen it. At the bottom, we're probably gonna go The Blackening, and then Megan, and then we're gonna go Saw X, and then Beau Was Afraid can go above Totally Killer, I guess. That works a little bit. The great tier, I kind of think these are interchangeable movies. I'm going to keep Evil Dead in second place just because the gore factor, and the amazing tier Talk to Me is the best horror movie of the year, one of the best movies of the year for me personally, in like that top 15 spot. But that is all 27 horror movies that I saw in 2023 ranked. Leave your list down below of your favorite horror movies you've seen this year. But as you can see, it's a pretty divisive year for horror. Horror is it's a difficult genre to get right. As I said, you only have like 11 or 12 good horror movies this year, in my opinion, and a lot of terrible movies this year, horror movies this year. So it's a very interesting list, but as I said, leave your favorite horror movies from this year down below in the comments. Make sure to like this video if you did enjoy, subscribe to the channel, we're on the road to 500 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.